What if someone was living in your house, watching you, days before you were murdered? In 1922, a remote German farm became the site of one of history's most disturbing unsolved crimes. Bavaria, Germany. March 1922. The Hinterkaifeck farm sat isolated in the countryside near Gruber. It was home to Andreas Gruber, 63, Cecilia Gruber, 72, their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, 35, Victoria's children Cecilia Gabriel, 7, and Joseph, 2, a newly hired maid, Maria Baumgartner, 44. The family was known to keep to themselves. Rumors surrounded the household, including allegations of abuse and conflict. On the night of March 31, 1922, each member of the household was murdered, one by one. Evidence later suggested the victims were lured into the barn separately. The killer used a mattock, a farming tool. Joseph, the youngest child, was killed inside the house. The maid Maria had arrived only hours earlier. The brutality shocked investigators, but what came next was even more chilling. On April 4, 1922, neighbors became concerned when no one from the farm was seen for days. Coffee deliveries went untouched, mail piled up. A group entered the property. Inside the barn, they found the bodies. But investigators quickly noticed something disturbing. The animals had been fed after the murders. The killer appeared to have stayed in the house for days. Meals had been eaten, a fire had been kept burning. Someone hadn't just killed the family. They had lived among the dead. German police launched a massive investigation. More than 100 suspects were questioned. Key findings included footprints leading from the forest to the house, but none leaving. No signs of forced entry. Money and valuables left untouched. Investigators believed the killer was familiar with the farm. The Munich Criminal Police assisted, but forensic science was limited at the time. Crucial evidence was contaminated when neighbors and officials handled the bodies before proper examination. Several suspects emerged. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a neighbor and possible father of young Joseph, former farmhands with knowledge of the property, soldiers passing through the region after World War I. Schlittenbauer discovered the bodies and behaved suspiciously, according to witnesses. He denied all involvement and was never charged. No confession was ever obtained. Interrogations relied heavily on witness testimony and behavioral suspicion rather than physical proof. No arrests were made. No one was ever charged. In 1931, the case was officially closed. In 2007, modern police students reviewed the evidence and concluded the most likely suspect was someone close to the family, but insufficient proof remained. The murders remain unsolved. Who was living in the attic before the murders? Why did Andreas Gruber hear footsteps days earlier but find nothing? Why were the victims killed one at a time? The Hinterkaifeck case became a symbol of rural isolation, investigative limitations, crimes where the killer vanishes without a trace. Over a century later, the farm is gone, but the mystery remains. The Hinterkaifeck house no longer stands. The land is quiet. But somewhere between the forest and the farmhouse, a killer's footsteps were never erased, and the truth still has no name. This story is based on publicly available information and is presented for educational purposes.